Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nickel.
Thank you so much for dropping in today. If you have been following Series 7, you will know that I am talking to some of the most inspiring athletes' stories that are out there. I am talking to Canadian Paralympians, and I have one more on the roster today that will be dropping in with me for episode 63. Now, let me give you some insight to who this is. This guest started skiing at the age of 5, but at the age of 7, he was in a farming accident where he lost his left arm above the elbow. Shocking at the time. It did not stop him from pursuing life in sport. Now, I have to admit, I did have a difficult time putting this guest's accolades together in one simple bio because there's no easy way to sum up everything that he's done. So I'm going to start with the World Cups. World Cup titles. He is a biathlon overall winner. He's earned the biathlon overall podium 4 times. He has 37 biathlon podiums and 13 cross-country podiums. That's just World Cup, guys. We're moving on to World Championships. He is a 3-time world champion, 5-time silver medalist, 6-time world champion, bronze medalist. And we haven't even gotten into the Paralympics yet because this is something else. He is a 4-time Paralympian in biathlon and cross country. He is a double Paralympic champion in biathlon at the Pyeongchang 2018 Games and the Beijing 2022 Games. He's taken home 4 silver medals, 6 bronze medals at the last 3 Paralympic Games. Just to put the cherry on top, the 2018 Games, he earned a medal at each of the 6 competitions that he started. And he was obviously respectfully named Team Canada's flag bearer at the closing ceremonies. Now, he also has some awards under his belt. Most Outstanding Athlete, Duke of Edinburgh Award, Gold Level Award, Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal, Member of the Order of Prince Edward, Best Male Athlete from the Canadian Paralympic Committee, Male Athlete of the Year twice. I mean, the list goes on and on. This Sun Athlete Award winner, multi-medalist, 2-time Paralympic champion, 3-time world champion, Team Canada guru has got it going on. I am so pleased to have dropping in with us today, Mark Arendz. How are you, my friend?
Hello. Good, and you?
I'm good. I mean, just reading your bio, I was like, wow. So impressive. It's so great to see your face and hear your voice for the listeners that are listening in today. Are you ready to drop in?
I am.
Okay, I've got 10 rapid fire questions for you that you have not seen. The listeners and viewers know that they are never rapid. It's just to get to know you a little bit more. So let's start with number 1. Do you have a lucky charm?
No. No lucky charms. No.
You're the third person to say no. It's fascinating to me. Okay. You have been to 27 countries. I'm going to ask you this, a 2-part question. What would be your favorite for skiing, and what would be your favorite for pleasure?
I think I'll go in reverse order. My favorite for pleasure has been visiting family in the Netherlands. Both my parents are from there, so I've never raced there. So that one's for pleasure. Awesome. For skiing, it's a tough one for different reasons. I think I'm still going to go with New Zealand, though. It's not where I've necessarily done a lot of competing. It's mostly for a training camp, but in New Zealand's always that little sprinkle of everything, all in a really condensed little pocket, and it's just amazing.
And whereabouts in New Zealand do you train?
So we fly into Queenstown and train just outside of Wanaka on the snow farm.
Yes, that's where we would go too. It's got my heart. I think New Zealand kind of looks like what I imagined Canada looked like years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
So
I think
beautiful. So. And I also think all my listeners are now going to go to New Zealand because so many people keep saying New Zealand. Exactly. Now that we can travel, it would be amazing. All right. Number 3, big city or small town?
Small town.
You're from Prince Edward Island,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, random fact question.
Hmm.
As I was Googling you, do you have a park named after you?
I do. Yeah. So where I started skiing at then the Brookvale Provincial Ski Park, after Pyeongchang was renamed the Arendz Provincial Ski Park.
Oh my
So
God.
it's got cross-country skiing, biathlon, snowshoeing on one side, but it's also got I hate to say alpine, but it is an alpine area on the other side. It's kind of a two-part park, and it's also going to be the host for the Canada Winter Games next year in 2023. And so we'll
Awesome.
be hosting a lot of the freestyle events, snowboard events, and biathlon and cross country.
Yes, nice. That's awesome. That wasn't one of the questions. I just stumbled upon it and I was like, that's super cool. We have to talk about that. Awesome. Number 4, when you're in the gym, would you prefer to have headphones on so you don't hear the heavy breathing and grunting while you're training? Or you just no headphones, hear everything?
No headphones, hear everything.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's just everyone's doing work, and I think that's kind of a really cool piece of it, and you can just have some fun with your neighbors.
it's true. Sometimes I would get the giggles though at some people that were
Okay.
doing really heavy lifting. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
but that's awesome. Okay. Number 5, do you have a favorite ever race that you it sticks in the back of your head?
I think the Pyeongchang gold is still my favorite. That was just a day where it all kind of everything came together. Like the years of training, the focus on the process. I was able to control the situation. I think that was just the peak of performance on that day, and I was able to come home with my first Paralympic championship. Hear the national anthem and everything that came along with it. I think that was still my favorite race.
So awesome. Oh, it makes my heart so happy to hear that too. Okay, if you had to choose, this is question number 6.
Ooh.
Biathlon cross country. Which
Oh,
one would you
ouch.
choose?
I think biathlon. That's the one closest to my heart. It's kind of where I got my start.
Yeah.
And I get to do the cross country. I just get to
In
take
it.
little breaks. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I actually went up to the Whistler Olympic Park
Okay.
and some people were doing the biathlon. They were shooting the guns
Yep.
but they were doing race walking because
Okay.
there's no
Yep.
snow right now. And I
No,
thought that
no,
was
right.
super fun. Very
Yeah.
tricky though.
Oh yeah. Still very tricky.
Yeah. Number 7, what would be the top place for you to train in Canada?
In Canada. Oh, it's the train. I still think it's Canmore, kind of where I've based out of. It's just within an hour drive, we can have anything that we would ever need in order to be one of the best in the world. And whether that's in Lake Louise for the early snow, in Calgary for the physiology, the strength testing that we have, a major airport to get around the world is always a bonus. And then Kananaskis country, right here in Canmore, you have a fantastic world-leading facility. So I think in Canada, still my favorite place and my preferred place to train is Canmore.
Amazing. And you're there right now?
Yep.
Awesome. Number 8, if you're not training, what can people find you doing?
Like good Netflix, just keeping, and all of them actually, a little Disney Plus as well, just catching up on some favorite movies, relaxing. I'm doing a little bit of school here and there as well, so there might be some studying time, but also just make sure there's a little blocks of time where there's TV's on and just kind of chill, relax, and recover a little bit.
Totally necessary. I actually have Dom Valet. She was my teammate. She's in Chinese medicine doctor now. And she's like, you just need to slow down. Everyone needs to sometimes slow down and just watch some Netflix. And I was like, do I have a doctor telling me to do this? Okay.
Yeah, that's prescribed. Yeah.
It totally is. Awesome. Okay. Number 9, how did the pandemic affect your training?
Because we're an outdoor sport, it didn't really affect the training itself. I think the biggest impact it had on training was just the inability to go to the gyms.
Right.
And so that was a restriction, but it was also what I learned really quickly early on was to go and try to find the positives instead of
Mhm.
like looking at the restrictions and what we were losing or what I was losing in my training.
Mhm.
Look at what could be gained. And so we, or the team and we were kind of like, okay, let's do some gym at home. And so I was able to set up the back deck and, have a little box or box jumps. I had some weights, rubber bands, and I
Yeah.
kind of made my patio into my gym. And yes, I wasn't throwing around the big weights that I would in a gym, but it was
Mhm.
also working on the very small details. And coming out of the pandemic a little bit, it was like, okay, I feel stronger now. And I think that was a really big piece. And we had to shift a few camps around and a little less competition, but overall, we get faster through our training and racing almost kind of, even though we're going fast, too much racing makes us slower. And so that was also
Right.
really good to just see that we could get focus on our training, and that's kind of the happy place.
Yeah, and so in the winters, were you able to go out and, like, train with the team in Canmore? Did that
Yeah,
work out? Yeah, that worked
yeah,
out well for you.
yeah. That
Awesome.
we didn't really have many restrictions with that. It was just going to competitions or traveling elsewhere for training camps. I was kind of restricted a bit, but we could
Mhm.
still do the work right here in Kenmore.
Awesome. Okay, number 10, the last one of the rapid fire, then we can talk Paralympics all the way. Number 10, if you weren't skiing, what would you be doing?
Uh, I think
For Olympics, this is a lot of life.
um, the easy answer for me would be I would try to be refereeing soccer. It's something I grew up with
Oh,
and I
okay.
loved it, and I always felt I could do that as a career even. I think I would need to do a little bit on the side, but yeah, that would be something I would have pursued um, had I not followed down this incredible journey of being a Paralympic skier.
Amazing. So that is something we do have in common. Though I started in 2006 at the Olympics and went to 4, you've gone to 4 Paralympics. I mean, a lot of people, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's great." They're really proud, but at the same time, do they realize how much life it is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. That's easily 16 years of just focused on one thing.
Exactly, and out of those years, is there, like, obviously, you talked about the gold medal in Pyeongchang. What were the first games for you like?
Well, the first games being in Vancouver were just really special.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, even though I had started my Paralympic journey, going to my first games, it wasn't until the experience in Vancouver that really kickstarted this drive um, to excel at the Paralympics.
Okay.
I was kind of, I had just gotten my first podiums in both cross country and biathlon
Mhm.
within a month before Vancouver, and I was thinking, okay, that hometown hype is gonna, help me get to that. I knew I wasn't gonna win, but maybe I could slip on there for that bronze or maybe even a silver.
Yeah.
And at home, that would have been something truly special. But what I wasn't prepared for was the level of um, performance from my competitors when we got to the games. And
Right.
I was the young kid. I had only done 2-3 years of World Cup at that point.
Yeah.
And these other guys had decade long careers, and this was their focus. Vancouver was their focus, and
Yeah.
so that was really eye opening to say, okay, there is a different level at the games, and seeing that in Vancouver. And it was really nice because I had my parents there, and it was just kind of a really nice, safe environment for me to kind of experience those games, get my feet wet, and learn what the games kind of meant. But
Yeah.
I remember flying home and being like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to be one of the best in the world.
It puts a fire
And
under you.
yeah, exactly. And I kind of it was eye opening and understanding what it was going to be the best.
Mhm.
And it
It's
did
so
take
fascinating.
preparation for 4 years in order to do that. And
Totally.
so going into Sochi was like, okay, now I was driven. The 2011 season might be actually my most successful season. I never left the podium until the very last race of the World
No.
Cup season. And
Awesome.
I really had no business racing. I was so sick. I wanted to race that last race, and uh, and that was, I shouldn't have, but I did.
Wait, you said you were sick?
Oh yeah, totally sick.
Oh.
Over the 2 days before, I hadn't eaten anything, like a brown bun. We were or like a white bun in Germany. That was all I had eaten. And so I like downed a gel just before the race because I felt good enough to like keep that down. But yeah, first lap was okay. Second lap, there was nothing left.
Oh my gosh.
But for me, that was a really cool experience because it was like, okay, focus on what you can control. And I'm like, well, I don't know how much speed I have. I don't know how fast I'll be, but I can control the shooting. And I was the only person to clean that day.
Oh my God, I love it.
But still finished 10th. And I was like, oh no. But I guess the big driving point for me to race that race was the fact that I was leading the World Cup overall, and all I had to do was finish 8th or better, and I had the overall locked up. And the guy who I was competing against had to finish either 3rd or better to beat me.
Okay.
I think, or even 2nd or better to beat me.
Yeah.
But because I was 10th, he finished 2nd or 1st, and he got me by 4 points. And it was like, oh no. But to me, it was a really good lesson. And that kind of kickstarted that quad between Vancouver and Sochi. Again, going into Sochi, I was in great shape. A week before, it was fantastic. I've never felt faster. I was focused. Everything was going well. Yeah. Until we started traveling into Sochi, and the team kind of caught this bug. And all the first 4 or 5 days that I was in Sochi, I was just trying to like stay healthy, or like do whatever it took to just like alleviate the symptoms and try to get healthy. And I was kind of limiting my skiing and just making sure that I rested as much as I could, tried to get, the fluids into me, keep the energy up. And I started that first race, and I didn't know what I had left. I was just like, okay, we see what happens. And I was exactly. Starting the race, I had a really good first lap. I got to the mat, shot my first shot, hit it. Okay, awesome. That's a good start. Got the second one, got the third one, got the fourth one. And between the fourth one and the fifth one, I'm like, I got this. As soon as I said that, I missed. I'm like, oh no. So I got up, and I limited my skiing before. I hadn't even skied the penalty loop before in practice or in training.
And how long is the penalty loop usually?
So a penalty loop's 150 meters. So somewhere between 20, depending on conditions, 22 to 26 seconds.
Okay. Ooh.
And I take my first step into the penalty loop. I'm like, this is my direction. This is good for me. And so I kind of race to the penalty loop. I do my second lap. But I knew that you had to shoot clean in order to win this race.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I can still fight for maybe a silver, maybe a bronze, but I can still fight. Yeah. And got into the second bout, hit my 5 targets, and then put everything I had left onto that last lap. Come across the line, and I'm getting changed, talking to our psychologist, and he's got a radio that's on, and I can hear our coaches talking about the other athletes, and I'm like, you got to turn that off. I can't handle this. Okay. And finally, my coach comes in. He's like, congratulations, gives me a big hug. That was awesome. Yeah. And I'm like, what was it? And he's like, you're silver. Yes. But do you know how close it was? And I'm like, no. And he's like, it was 0.7 of a second behind gold. And so we raced, that was a 21, 22 minute race, and it came down to 0.7 of a second.
So wild.
And then the coach is like, do you know how close it was to third though? And I'm like,
God.
No. He's like, 0.7 of a second. So the podium was separated by 1.5 seconds. Wow. And like I said, I thought that a win you have to go clean to win the race. Yeah. And the first 6 people all missed one shot. And all 6 would have, had they gone clean, would have been close enough to win the race.
Oh my God. It's just, you never know what's going to happen.
No. And so I kind of the next day, that took a lot out of me, got sick again, or worse. Kind of brought it back for the second race. I'm like, okay, I think I'm feeling better. I'm getting around this. I skied to bronze, and then that was it. The next 2 days I was just so
Done.
sick, and it was like that's the end of the games,
Do you
really.
know what you caught? Like some kind of bug?
Yeah, some kind of. I think where we were based for our training camp, I think the waiter might have been a little sick, kind of hiding a sniffle or something like that, and that just because we were so on the edge, just in
Yeah.
that final week to games, that just pushed us over,
Yeah, it's so
and
funny.
so I
I mean,
left.
it's not funny at all.
No, 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 but it's part of it is what it is, right?
Mhm.
We've like a 2 races now I'm talked about that I've actually been sick.
I know.
Um, and but I left Sochi hungry because I knew I was better than that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, silver, bronze was fantastic, but I knew I was better.
Yeah.
And over the next 4 years, it was kind of a joke, but it was a huge motivation for me. Was I'm using 4 years to get zero point 0.7 of a second faster,
I hear you.
and I knew I'd have to be faster than that.
Yeah.
But and of course I was, but that was the idea. Like if there were days where I didn't feel good, I was feeling tired, or it was really crappy weather or something like that. It was like, okay, I need to be zero point 0.7 faster, and that was kind
That
of the
was your
motivation
motivation.
to get out there and train. Push for that extra interval, things
Totally.
like that, and that led into Pyeongchang, and Pyeongchang was just everything was perfection and coming together.
Yes.
I
So
It was
awesome.
just like we joke that we go to the games and we eat, sleep, race, repeat, and that's what I did in Pyeongchang. Of the 7 races there, I did 6 of them, and we only have 9 days of the games, so quite literally eat, sleep, race, repeat.
I remember my first games, they were 2006, so I was a year ahead of you, and then,
Yeah. Okay.
in 2006, we shared a village with the biathletes, and, I remember one of my teammates, he had cards, and he's like, "Hey, do you guys wanna play cards?" And they wouldn't even think about touching anything that wasn't theirs.
Right.
And this is like, yes, now we've gone through a pandemic and we understand that. But
Mhm.
back in the day, I was 22 years old. I didn't know what it was to represent Canada. I was like, these people are on another level.
Yeah.
But I mean, having you break it down for us in that sense, like you're competing pretty much every day. It's
Yeah.
and the fact that you got sick just at the training camp before it all does make sense. And you guys have these like bodies that you need to take care of. Whereas snowboarders, we're a little bit more loose.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But I think I have so much respect for you guys. So, gold in Pyeongchang. Did you guys got warm weather there, didn't you?
Yeah. It was.
Yeah,
I think
after the
our
polar
warmest was
vortex.
15, maybe even 16 degrees was our
I
warmest.
was envious because we had that polar vortex
Yeah,
before you
yeah,
guys came.
exactly. And it was something we kind of expected. We expected that warm, like it was as soon as right at the tail end of the Olympics, we figured that that's where it would shift and
Change
then
over.
just go really, really hot. Like that's
Tropical.
when yeah, almost. I definitely raced in very short legs and pretty much no arm sleeves because
Is
it was
that
that hot.
did that like change anything for you at all? Like did you have wax techs? You wax the skis
Yeah,
and stuff like
yeah.
that?
So they were aware of that. They knew that that was to be expected. They were prepared, and the Canadian team is actually very good in these because we're so used to racing in March with the Paralympics. We're used to these warmer temperatures. So Vancouver
Okay.
was wet and warm. Sochi was wet and warm. Pyeongchang was wet and warm, and China, this last one,
Yeah.
was wet, warm, and dirty
Right.
in the end. So it was we're
Wait,
very
what do you mean by dirty? Like
the
the
snow was
snow was
so
dirty?
dirty. Oh yeah. Oh.
Oh, so it just wrecked your skis.
They were just nothing could go in them. There was just nothing that would make them fast.
Oh my gosh.
It was
Okay,
just
so
because
let's
there's
let's let's just rewind because
yeah.
you got your gold and a
Mm-hmm.
million other medals
Yeah.
in Korea, in
Pyeongchang.
Pyeongchang. You were flag bearer. Mad kudos. I think that's the coolest thing.
Thank you.
It's so respectful. It's one of the I think one of the coolest honors. So many congratulations on that. Then you're like, you had this fire. You're like, I can do better. I can do better. So what brought you to 2022?
I think like Pyeongchang was the peak of at that time. But I knew, and that was the question I asked myself right away. Like flying home was, okay, I can't top this, and I'm not coming back to repeat it or top it, or sorry, I'm not coming back to repeat it because repeating it is not going to be good enough. And I needed to evolve from Pyeongchang into the racer I would be in 2022. And I think that was really at the time there was hard because there was a lot of pressure too, because what would I consider a failure, and or what would other people consider a failure as well, because is one is less than 6 medals a failure, or is something else, and so that was tough at times to kind of balance that.
For sure.
But for me, that my focus was on just evolving and performing on the day. And circumstances each games are different. You're a different athlete in each games, whether it's maturity, whether it's just time, you're skiing faster. In biathlon or cross country, especially, there's different techniques. So sometimes you're stronger in one technique than the other, and depending on the race schedule, you might have more races that favor you or less races. So it was just kind of finding that balance to Pyeongchang, and but also having that date of March 5th was the date that I had circled in my calendar, in my mind. That's when the game started. That was my first race, and I needed to be ready for that day.
Okay. And you went for it again.
Yep.
I love it.
Maybe 6 races was a little much in Beijing, but again, God, I sound like I'm always getting sick, but there was caught something a little bit in Beijing, and that I don't think it affected the race after, but it affected the races later on because I had lost that recovery. I wasn't able to, those big days really took it out of me, and being sick within that, I wasn't able to get that recovery and really be able to maintain that energy level throughout the races or throughout the event.
Right. Oh my gosh. What a journey for you. And you're still in Canmore. Okay. So at my Olympics, I had Marnie Mick being there as our mentor most of the time. And then at each Olympics, I saw her and she's like, well, how are you going to do it the next games? How are you going to do it the next games? And I was like, dude, I literally just finished competing.
Yeah.
And I realized that you literally just finished the Paralympics. And this is like the question that you probably get asked all the time. Are you still training?
Yeah. I needed a little bit of a surgery on both heels. So I'm taking a couple of months here, but I kind of planned it out that I kind of bartered with myself, really. And I said, I'm going to take the first break that I've taken in my entire career and take 4 months. But by taking these 4 months, I hope I can recharge, let the body recover from surgery itself, and then focus on the next 4 years.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Do you still love it?
I do. And now the last week or so, I've taken a coaching course, and all the things are going through my head, and I really want to be out there and applying it, but I know that the body's not quite ready yet for that. Still need a couple more weeks of healing before I can really get out there and start the skiing, the running, and getting those things, and being able to apply what I've kind of learned. And I'm excited to start that this next season and this next squad.
That's so exciting. They say older and wiser, and I do agree with that. Listening to your body is probably one of the hardest things to do, I think, for me as an athlete. I always wanted to push through and on to the next, but being retired now, I'm like, okay, self-care is a thing. I don't want to be chronically in pain. So if I have any advice, it's take care of it now and do take that time, because we love watching you, and I can't wait to see what happens next on your journey. You're going to beat me with probably 5 Paralympics, and I've only gone to 4 Olympics, but that's it. We're just really competitive over here, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
I think Billy Bridges is going to go for like 10 probably.
Well, no one can catch Billy anymore.
I know. What did he say to me? He said, strive for 5. And I was like, Billy, I'm not going again. Like, I'll go as like staff or something, but
yeah. Oh, exactly. And Brian is the same way. Brian McKeever, he's
How
six
many does he
now.
have?
I
6?
think he's 5 or 6 for sure.
Oh
Yeah.
my
No, 5. Sorry,
goodness.
he's 5. He's one ahead of me. Yep.
Okay, well, I hope
Yeah.
you catch him up as well.
Yeah, and who knows? There's some whispers over in Whistler and Vancouver. 2030 is not that far away.
Oh my gosh, I know. Okay, well, I'm hoping you hang on for that.
Yeah.
I will be right there with my pom-poms
Okay.
cheerleading everyone on, and I wish you the best. Where can people find you online if they want to find out what you're up to?
I think the easiest is the website, markarendz.ca, or at Instagram, markarendz. I think that's
Awesome.
not that I post a lot, but that'll keep you kind of in the loop of where I am and what's going on.
Thank you so much for dropping in today. One quick last question. Where do you keep all your medals?
Just on a shelf.
Okay, they are displayed, kind of.
They're in the boxes.
Awesome.
Some
Mark,
of them.
thank you.
The others are stored away.
That's like a total Canadian thing, I think.
Yeah,
I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for dropping in today, and best of luck with the future.
Thank you.
So much for dropping in today. You can find everything you want to know about dropping in with Mercedes at droppinginwithmercedes.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks DJ Kenosis for the music and my mom for the intro voice.